Okay, could you first please state your name and career?
My name is Dr. Nina Shapiro, and I am a pediatric otolaryngologist or ear, nose, and throat surgeon.
What does an average day look like for you as a doctor?
Well, frankly, there's no average day. There are some days where I see patients all day in the office, so like going to the doctor's office and doing exams, physical exams, doing some small procedures on children in the office. And then other days I'm in the operating room. So sometimes I'm in the hospital operating room doing surgeries on children with multiple medical problems, or children who are already in the hospital. And then other days I do surgeries on children who are healthy, so they're healthy enough to go home right after their surgery.
Mhm. So when did you decide to become a doctor?
So I decided I was definitely thinking about it in high school, and then sort of as college went along, sort of in the first year or two, then I confirmed my decision to be, I guess, what you would call pre-med. They still call it pre-med. So by the first or second year of college, I was pretty sure that that's what I was going to do.
Mhm. And why did you choose to be a doctor?
Well, there are a lot of reasons. It's really a privilege to take care of people. It's fascinating. It's always challenging. You never know everything. You're always learning new things. There are always new illnesses coming up, new procedures that we can do, new medications. So it's a really exciting field. It's great to work with lots of different types of people. And the best part is that you get to take care of patients and hopefully make them better.
Mhm. So what did you do in high school and regarding like activities, classes, or sports?
All I did was study. No, I'm just kidding. Um, there's a in high school. Wow. So I did take the science classes, which I think are pretty standard right now for most kids in high school. Some of the science classes that are offered now in high schools we didn't have. A lot of the sort of more advanced science classes. We just had really the basics, so chemistry, physics, biology. That was really it. Whether it was honors or AP or regular, those were the sciences that we had in high school. I played music, so I was in the band and orchestra. I did some running, but I wasn't like a varsity track star or anything like that. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I had fun in high school. I didn't have any major. I didn't invent anything. I didn't win the Nobel Prize, um, but I worked hard, and I played music as well.
Mhm. So what did you major in college?
So in my college, we had the opportunity to apply to be in an independent major program, which I did. And so I didn't have one major, but within this program, we were able to combine several interests. So I combined biology, French, and music, which were three interests of mine. And we had to, part of the requirements of the program was to take two of those in at least two of those interests and combine them to write a thesis. So even though we were in college, we had to write a thesis for graduation. So I combined biology and French and did a project, a scientific research project in part of Canada, which was French speaking. So that was my sort of combination of the two.
What activities or extracurriculars did you do in college? Were there any research opportunities that you had?
There was a lot of research opportunity, and I did a lot of research projects in college. I worked in an animal lab, which is kind of, now looking back, maybe not my favorite thing to do. But we worked on several projects with rats. Looking at memory loss, using certain medications to give them to see if we can improve their memory, and then looking at a certain disorder called PKU to see if rats with this PKU disorder had issues with memory as well. So there's a lot of research projects in college for undergrads, and it was actually a lot of fun. I rode crew, but not, on the varsity crew team, just with an intramural team. I did a lot of running as well, played music, kept that up through college. But, it was a busy time. So, there are only so many extra activities you can do while you're in college.
Mm-hmm. And so, what did the pre-med track look like in college, and what was preparing for the MCAT and med school like?
So there are a lot of different tracks for pre-med, and I think that's really important to remember that there's not one route that every student has to take. Not everybody was a science major who was pre-med. There are certain courses that are required as basic courses if you want to apply to medical school, but you don't have to follow a certain track. Most of the people were science majors, whether it was biology or biochemistry or chemistry majors. Those were really the main tracks. What I did is I took the basics as well as a few extra courses that I was interested in, such as microbiology and genetics during college. But I also took a lot of other courses that were interesting, such as French and literature and music. So preparing for the MCATs is no different from preparing for any other big exam. There are a lot of subject sections, and you have to just study hard. There are lots of different prep courses. This is really looking ahead for someone in high school right now, but it's a standardized test, just like any other standardized test. And it is hard. It's very rigorous. I recall it was a full day exam, and but I think if you take the basic courses that you'll be taking in college, most of those you'll already have a strong background once you get to the level of the MCATs. Don't worry about the MCATs right now.
Okay. And so what was medical school like, and how did it feel like in terms of rigor studying, and did you like it?
Wow. So, the first 2 years of medical school are, for the most part, very similar to college. So, you're taking classes, you're doing laboratory work, you're learning new material. It's a lot of sort of homework and studying and textbook work and exams. Sometimes they'll have small seminars, but a lot of lectures. You'll spend a little bit of time learning how to work with patients, and you may shadow some doctors, spend maybe half a day per week working actually with patients. But for the most part, the first 2 years are very similar to being in college. After that, the third and the fourth year of medical school is essentially no more labs and no more exams in that form. It's all really on the job training, and that's where you're working in the hospitals, and you are working with other doctors, and you're on what are called rotations. So you will do, for instance, 3 months of general surgery, 1 month of pediatrics, OBGYN, all the different specialties during your third year. And then in the fourth year, you do a few more requirements, and then you do what are called electives. So those are fields that you're interested in. So you may spend a month in a field that you may be considering becoming. So let's say you want to be a radiologist, you may do an extra month in radiology or dermatology. Sometimes medical students during their fourth year travel to another medical school to spend a month working with different doctors in a different institution. So third and fourth year are much closer to what it's like to be sort of working as a doctor, but the first and second year are just very similar to college. Did I like it? It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's very gratifying. You meet great people. These are friends for life. Um, but it's hard work.
Mhm. And then what did an average day of medical school look like in the first 2 years and then this last 2 years?
So yeah, the first 2 years were very similar to college. But I think we had more classes in college. You may have one or two classes a day. Medical school, I felt like it was most of the day in class. So for instance, 8 or 9 in the morning until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Then you have a lot of reading and learning about what the lectures were. We had labs, so anatomy lab, physiology lab, microbiology lab. So we would spend time in the lab. We had big study groups, small study groups. We worked together at night. So the first 2 years were, sort of a more intense form of what college life would be. We actually had a dorm in medical school, which is very unusual. So all the first year students lived in the same dorm, which was actually a lot of fun. The second 2 years, again, it just depends month to month. You'll have easy months, hard months, months where you'll be taking on, on call, where you'll be, in the hospital overnight and then working the next day. So getting a sense of what it's like to be a resident or an intern. So the second 2 years are really closer to what it'll be like for your entire residency.
Mhm. And then just regarding residency, how did you pick which field you wanted to go into for residency in med school, and why did you choose that field?
So during third and fourth year of medical school, you get to spend time with all the different specialties, and you get a sense, at least a rough idea of what you would like to do for the rest of your life. And sometimes that's not an easy decision, and you may go back and forth, and that's certainly a great thing to do if you're not decided right away, to really, step back and think about it. I really liked the field of ear, nose, and throat, or otolaryngology, because it had a mix of medicine and surgery. At the time when I was doing just general otolaryngology, I liked the idea of taking care of young people and older people, healthy people, sick people. So it really was a range of types of work that we can do. I also liked the fact that the people who were doing it, in my field, were enjoying it 20, 30, 40 years after they had started. So to me, that was very encouraging, that it was something that other doctors really enjoyed for many years. It wasn't something that they got tired of as they got older.
Mhm. And like, what did residency for you look like, and how long was it?
So my residency was 5 years. So it was 1 year of general surgery, where we just do work with, all aspects of general surgery, vascular surgery. And that was a very, very hard year, because we were on call almost every other night in the hospital and working the next day. So it was quite an exhausting year, but very intense. And you learn really how to take care of patients during that first year of training. And then the 4 years after that were ear, nose, and throat residency, which was just focused on ear, nose, and throat surgery. And that was a little less intense as far as the schedule went, but it was still quite rigorous. It's a surgical field, so we were in the operating room almost every day, and staying overnight in the hospital a few nights per week. And that was for 4 years. And then after that, I did a 1 year fellowship in pediatric otolaryngology. So that was, I guess, a sixth year of training after that, where I just spent a year focusing on the care of kids, which is what I do now.
Mhm. And then, oh yeah, I was going to ask if you had any additional training or in your area of expertise. Like,
Yes. So that 1 year
yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
Hmm. And then those are all the questions, but I have one more question for you,
Okay.
which is, do you have any advice for like any aspiring doctors?
Sure. I think that, really learn as much about it as you can uh, at whatever age you are. And I think it's great that you're doing this, by the way. And, meeting lots of different people. Ask a lot of questions. I think a lot of people, certainly early on, whether you're in high school or college, you feel uncomfortable you feel like your question is going to be a silly question. Ask people, engage people. If you're interested in a certain area, you can explore that, see what opportunities you have. Whether it's a little tricky now because of the COVID pandemic that we're still in, but to see if you can shadow other physicians, spend a half a day working with someone, just to get a sense of what it's like. And but keep your options open. I think, everybody shouldn't feel that they have to follow a certain path to get somewhere. There are a lot of different ways to get to what you want in life, and it may change. And I think it's really good to sort of follow your path, whatever that may be. And, it may be, have lots of twists and turns, and that's actually probably for the better if that happens.
Hmm. Very wise. And thank you so much for letting me interview you today. And I hope you have a great rest of your night.
You too. It was great to meet you. Stay
You too.
well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.